Welcome to Ghouls Night Out with your hostesses, Brandy and Jody.
Hello, beautiful ghouls. Welcome. This is Brandy. I'm here with my sister, Jody.
Hello.
So I have some ridiculous rules that people had to follow at work.
Okay.
To start with. And I think these are going to make us mad.
Probably.
So I worked in an all-male company. Eventually, they started bringing in a few women to be more inclusive. There were about 4 women and 50 men. A month in, we had a meeting and were told that women couldn't sit together or socialize in both outside and inside of the office, especially at lunch, because we were creating cliques. We also weren't allowed to discuss quote-unquote women talk, such as hair, makeup, cooking, yoga, fashion, as the men came to work to get away from their wives. The company would rewards included things like going to strip clubs, football tickets, etc. We were told we couldn't go because it was meant to be a reward for the men.
Oh. How long ago was this?
It doesn't say.
That had to have been a while back.
I really hope so. Strip clubs?
Not even...
That is a lawsuit fast waiting to happen.
That had to have been like at least 20, 30 years
Absolutely.
ago. At least.
But fucking ridiculous. Go fuck yourselves.
Definitely.
We come to work to get away from our wives.
Fuck you.
Why? Oh my God. Okay. Next one. I worked at a law firm as a legal assistant. I only lasted 2 days. Why? Because they charged you $25 each time you didn't answer your phone, and they only paid you $7.25 an hour.
What?
Yeah. What? Next
Obviously,
one?
these businesses are probably not still in business.
I wouldn't know.
Because,
Absolutely
that's
not. No way. No way. Next one, I worked briefly at a pound shop or a dollar store. The manager always called me Rachel, not my name, and insisted that I wear my hair in a high ponytail because I was blonde and it, quote, looked better. Sure enough, all of the other staff members with long hair could do whatever they wanted with their hair, but not me.
What?
I think that manager was jealous or something because what the fuck? Next one, back when I worked at a call center for a popular internet service provider, we had to raise our hand and get permission from the supervisor if we wanted to use the restroom. They treated us like we were kids in grade school. I quit that job as soon as I could.
Yeah, fuck that shit. Yeah. If I have to go to the bathroom, I'm fucking going to the bathroom.
I'm a fucking adult.
I am not asking permission.
No. Go fuck yourself.
Kiss my ass.
Exactly. Next one, back in the early 2000s, when paying with checks was the norm, I worked at a sandwich chain. The boss literally told us to judge a person, like look at their shoes and how they dressed before we take the check from them. It really made no sense because it was usually the rich-looking people that had checks bounce. But when one customer's check did bounce, my boss pulled money out of my coworker's paycheck for misjudging a customer. I told them that was illegal and they should give my coworker her money back. The next day, I was fired for not noticing a rogue piece of chicken teriyaki that was left under the pop machine after closing. I turned them into the BBB and they were forced to return her money plus fees.
Good.
Seriously good. Next one, I was interviewing for a position with a woman who started her own cleaning business. She told me there were 2 things that were grounds for immediate termination. The first one was, since she didn't believe in having anything with sugar, that all drinks were banned from the office except for water, unsweetened tea, and black coffee. The second was that you couldn't have Post-it notes of any kind. I laughed, thinking she had a unique sense of humor, but the look I received from her was anything but comical. I walked out of the interview after telling her that she was a little too controlling.
Yeah?
What the fuck? No.
No sugar? What?
Seriously, like, you can't tell people, you can't do that.
No, you can't.
I mean, unless it's alcoholic or something, like, no, you can't tell people not to drink. It's like, fuck off. You can't do that. Next one, my boss made it very clear that jeans were against the office dress code during the hiring process. I was surprised to see many employees outside of my office's team wore jeans, but I was still stuck to her dress code. One day during my first week, I wore paisley patterned slacks and was called into her office almost immediately after clocking in. With a very exhausted voice, she politely reminded me that jeans were not part of the dress code. I insisted that I wasn't wearing jeans. It got to the point where she put her face up to my thigh while touching my slacks to see if the fabric truly wasn't denim. She finally agreed that I wasn't wearing jeans, but also instructed me to never wear these slacks again to work because they looked too similar to denim. This was only my second job, so I followed suit. A few months later, she left our workplace, and my new boss, who commonly wore t-shirts and jeans to the office, always commented on how well-dressed our team was. Turns out my old boss made up her own rule of no jeans in the office just so she could say her team dressed better than everyone else.
Talk about controlling.
Seriously.
There's so many people like that.
I know, it's
in
so
management
sad.
positions.
I know.
It's like, why? How does that even happen?
I don't know. They must be smooth talkers or something.
I guess, but it's ridiculous.
It is. Next one, I worked for a place that specifically stated in the employee handbook that women were not to wear scrunchies in their hair, only clips. And they also weren't allowed to wear open-toed shoes without painting their toenails first.
What? Where does this even come from?
I don't know.
What do people have against scrunchies?
It's just like...
Now, I could see the open toe thing. But
sure.
You can wear open toes as long as your toes are painted? What the fuck?
So, in other words, there was really no other reason that this person just didn't like unpainted toenails, I guess.
They probably had a foot fetish.
Oh, maybe. Next one, I had a manager once when I worked retail who didn't want us to use the word help for some reason. So we couldn't ask customers if they needed help. We had to come up with some other way to say it. One day, my coworker, obviously flustered at this rule, struggled to come up with something on the spot and blurted out, "How can I service you today?" I had to leave the sales floor. I was laughing so hard. Well, friendly around here.
Well, let me think about this.
The owner of where I worked hated musicals for some reason and forbade any conversation related to musical theater. I once got yelled at for sharing a situationally appropriate anecdote from my theater kid days. What the fuck is that?
See, I don't understand.
Next one, I used to have a boss who didn't make rules per se, but rather very strong suggestions. When writing letters to clients, we would never use the word pleasure, as in it was a pleasure meeting you today, because pleasure was a sexual term to her. She strongly suggested that women in the office never lean on a desk because it looked like a sexual pose. No bra should ever be visible under a blouse because it looks sexual. Women should wear camisoles under their blouses or never take their jackets off. There were many other rules she strongly suggested we never do, but it was weird that so many innocent things seemed sexual to her.
Yeah, it sounds like a her problem.
That is her parents. Her parents did that to her.
Probably.
Next one, I worked at a call center where almost half of the employees were bilingual in English and Spanish. These workers were deliberately recruited because we had plenty of Spanish-speaking callers. A year or two after I started, management implemented a new rule banning employees from speaking to each other in Spanish in the workplace, which was obviously due to paranoia that the employees were talking about management behind their backs.
God.
To be fair, sometimes they were, but then so were the English-only speakers.
That's what I was getting ready to say. It's not just them.
Yeah, that's bullshit. To this day, I'm not sure if that rule was even legal, but it definitely was discriminatory.
Yeah,
You think?
Yeah, there's no way.
Pieces of shit. Next one, back when I used to go into the office, we had a weekly staff meeting. Our boss made us go around the table and each talk for 5 minutes about what we were working on. He had an hourglass with sand in it. If we went too long, he would interrupt us by saying, "Next," and flip it over for the next person. If he didn't say anything or finished early, then everyone had to sit there and stare at the hourglass, or you. It was weird. What a fucking idiot. What is wrong with these people? Next one, I was once told by my boss that if anyone from corporate comes in and starts asking about our breaks, specifically why I'm not taking a 15-minute break after I've been there for 5 hours, I'm supposed to tell them that I choose to work through my break. In actuality, I don't get a break because my boss refuses to schedule anyone to be there to cover for me. If I have to pee, make sure there's no customers, lock the door, run to the toilet, and be back behind the register within 2 minutes. Got your period? Oh well. No one from corporate has ever been in when I'm working, but you can fucking bet I'm not lying to them just to make my boss look good and stuff her pockets with bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah. Next one, I worked a scheduled 12-hour shift on Mondays. If a federal holiday fell on Monday, as many do, I was required to take 4 hours vacation time because the holiday was only for 8 hours. The business was closed for the holiday, so I couldn't work even if I wanted to, but I was still required to burn those vacation hours every time. Next one, I worked in hotels for 10 years. My first job out of college was in a management position at a hotel. My division head insisted I wear heels. I was on my feet for 10 to 12 hours a day on marble. Cruel and so outdated. This was about 15 years ago. Hopefully he's gotten with the times.
Ugh.
Yeah, no way. If someone... Like, obviously there's exceptions to every rule. Like, you can't dress like a slob,
No.
but like you can't force someone to wear heels like that. You can't do that.
I remember, so I worked in an office setting for what? At least 30 years.
Yeah.
And I remember when I first started, it was skirts, heels, pantyhose.
Oh, yeah.
Now, you know what I wear to work?
Jeans.
Jeans, t-shirts, tennis shoes.
Yeah. Times have changed a lot.
Yeah.
Next one, I was not allowed to have a gap between my shoes and the hem of my slacks. Despite the fact that I wore more conservative clothes than anyone in the office and was always professional, somehow flashing my ankle was the most abhorrent, distracting offense I could make when it came to my boss. Mind you, wearing heels and slacks with nylons while having a job that required sitting while working with the clients, not having a gap is a little tricky. So one day, I even had to have my spouse bring me a different pair of pants because my boss was so offended he couldn't stop staring at my ankle. Turns out the rule was strictly personal based on his religious beliefs, my gender, and the fact that he believed women shouldn't be in the workplace to begin with.
Mm-hmm. So I was getting ready to say, it was a him problem.
Exactly. Idiot. Next one, I think one of the stupidest, most pointless rules I had to follow was the window of contact rule at a coffee shop. Basically, we had to make small talk with every single person in line, always. The line 30 people deep on a Monday morning at 7 a.m., they still expected you to do this. It slowed us up so much, and everyone got dinged for it when we got secret shopped. When it was slow, sure, Sharon, what's going on today? What's good, Mike? Nice shirt, Lewis. Where'd you get it? But not during a rush. Come on. It was stated in the handbook that we should spend 3 to 5 minutes per customer to make us more personal than a coffee chain. Many customers hated it too. They wanted their coffee and were in a hurry to leave.
Yeah, I don't want to sit there and have a conversation with a stranger when I'm trying to get my fucking coffee in the morning.
That is like my nightmare.
Yes.
I do not want to talk to you. Just please, I just want my coffee.
Take my order.
Exactly.
And give me my coffee.
I will give you money. God damn.
Even if they weren't busy, I still don't want to talk to you.
No, I do. No. It's nothing against anybody. It's me, totally. But no.
I'm not going to sit there and have a conversation with you. I'm not going to do it. No. I'll answer your question in one word.
Yes.
And then that's it.
Yep. Same. Next one, I had a restaurant manager that made a rule that servers were not allowed to wear makeup unless they wore makeup every day. If you rarely wore or never wore makeup, you were not allowed to wear it because it would disturb the regulars.
Oh my God.
Coincidentally, I had just learned how to apply makeup and wear makeup and just started to wear makeup to work, so everyone knew this about me. I couldn't decide if I looked too good or if she didn't like the way I wore my makeup. I quit not long after that. God, again, you cannot, like, fuck off. You can't tell people like that what to do. You can't do that.
No.
Next one, the owner of the company I worked for was so tight with money that he didn't want to spend anything on cleaners. So he would get the whole staff from managers to receptionists to stop their actual work for 2 hours every Friday morning to clean the whole office. I found myself on hands and knees scrubbing toilets. That's a little crazy.
You know, I have to dump my own trash at work.
Yeah.
But if someone told me I had to start cleaning the toilets, I would tell them to fuck right off.
I'd be like, where's my $30,000 a year raise?
Yeah.
Because that's adding a whole nother aspect.
If I wanted to be
a
janitor
absolutely.
or whatever they're called now, I'm sure there's something politically appropriate.
I think it's just like cleaning people.
I don't know.
Sure.
But that's what I would be doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have dedicated my life to learn what I know to work in an office to clean a toilet.
Yeah, no, that doesn't...
I'm not... There's nothing against people that clean toilets.
But they get paid to do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm not...
No, if that was your job, sure.
Yes, if I was...
But my job is to sit behind a computer and, like, push buttons.
Yeah.
I'm not... Next one, I worked in a hotel when I was in my early 20s. I had many friends from high school who also worked there. However, they introduced a rule that I, head of department, wasn't allowed to socialize with anyone, quote, below me. And I could only socialize with other heads of departments. I remember asking, so I'm not allowed to hang out with my friends I've had longer than we've been open, but I can hang out with the 62-year-old maintenance manager? They replied with, yes, that would work. I didn't stay there much longer.
You can't...
No, you can't fucking do that.
Decide who people are friends with.
No. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Next one, as an employee of an insurance company, we had an account on a spreadsheet for every minute of every day. Each task had to be logged with how long it took to accomplish, how many we did, etc. We even had to account for bathroom breaks. If one day we did 10 items in 15 minutes and the next day did 5, she would question on the discrepancy. Everything was timed. She also made us save every single email she sent to us, and out of the blue, she would ask for a certain email she sent 2 years ago to make sure we had it.
Oh my God.
I would not be able to work there.
I couldn't work at any of these places.
No, absolutely not. No, that's ridiculous. Next one, when I worked in a small law firm, the lawyer and I had the same first name. She would not let me use my name at work, so I took on a female version of my husband's name. She said she was afraid of a client mistaking me for her and telling me confidential things. It was the shadiest place I ever worked. There were all kinds of weird stuff going on at that office. Terrible boss.
What the fuck? I'm not going to change my name
Well,
because...
someone said, my name's Jody, so what are you going to go by?
Honestly...
Like, what would you say?
I honestly, I don't know. I can't answer that because it would depend on what kind of mood I was in.
I would probably laugh in their face because I would not take that seriously.
Yeah, that could be one situation that could happen. Another, and everything shows on my face.
Yeah.
I would look at him, roll my eyes, and walk away.
Absolutely.
Probably.
Yeah, you either laugh or walk away at that point because it's ridiculous.
If they caught me at a particularly bad time, I would definitely be fired.
Oh.
Because it would be bad.
Well, yeah, either way, you're not working there.
You're like, my name is fucking Jody.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
what
going
my
by
name
Jody.
is. Period.
Let's see. This one's hilarious. I work at a small family business, and it was kept clean by the family. We weren't allowed to throw our trash away from our lunches. The owner made us take it home.
Oh, my God.
I don't know why I find that so funny.
Because it's ridiculous.
That's hilarious to me. I don't know why. Next one, in order to grow the business, we were forced to like every company post on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. One of my colleagues didn't do it and got a nasty email from the CEO questioning why she didn't care about the business.
I had, so I used to work for a company, it was a vending company.
Yeah.
And so, there were people that came to work there that used to work for like either Coke or Pepsi. Mm. And if you worked for Coke, you could not drink any Pepsi product. You could not have any Pepsi product. And same vice versa.
Like while you're at work, right?
No.
What?
Yeah. No. Could not have any. If someone found out,
that's ridiculous.
like if they came to your house for a cookout or something and there were Pepsi products there, no, that was not allowed.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I was like, this person was telling me this and I'm like, what?
Because, okay, so how can they do that? What if you worked
apparently years ago. I don't know how it is now. But this was a long time ago, but still, you can't dictate what people do.
I understand, like, kind of from just a common sense point of view, you would want to support the business that you worked for.
Yes, and that is totally fine.
Yeah, but, if you work for Coke and you are a Dr. Pepper person, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like,
that's what I was thinking, because at the time, I was Mountain Dew all the way.
Absolutely, yeah.
If I worked for Coke and they told me I could not have my Mountain Dew.
Exactly.
No.
What the
That
fuck?
is not happening.
Seriously.
What the hell?
I mean, I could totally be like, while you're here.
Yes.
Don't. Like,
I get that.
But when you're at home and you're off the clock, everyone can fuck off.
Yes. I will do what I want, when I want.
Wow. That's craziness.
I'm an adult. Can't tell me what to do.
All right, next one. I worked at a chain restaurant where the women had to wear a very specific uniform. I think we all know where they're talking about. If you didn't fit into the uniform due to weight gain, you would be talked to and put on probation or suspension until you lost weight. Next one, the owner of the company I worked for fancied himself the new Tony Robbins. We were forced to go to retreats and share our most traumatic childhood memories. We also needed to journal regularly, and he would randomly read sections of our journals.
No. What the fuck?
This was to ensure everyone was in the correct headspace and not bringing negativity. At one retreat, he brought in his personal psychic, and everyone had to have an individual session with her. No one was allowed to skip it, even for religious reasons. There were also multiple evening and weekend events we needed to attend alongside our spouses or significant others. I worked there for 4 years and ran like hell the moment I got another opportunity.
4 years is way too long.
Way too fucking long.
It's none of your business what happened in my childhood or whatever.
No.
I'm here to work. You are here to pay me.
Exactly.
Period.
Yeah. As long as you're doing your job and doing it well, just leave everyone alone. And my last one, no employees could use a red pen because the deceased company founder had forbidden it. He was the only one who could use a red pen. Even after his death, the rule persisted. Just so stupid. And those are mine for the beginning.
Wow.
Now that we're all pissed off.
I really, really hope those were like stories from years ago and that.
Well,
I don't think they can get away with most of that stuff anymore.
Yeah, most of that would be totally illegal. But one of those said from the early 2000s, which I think that was 20 years ago, but still not that long ago. I know, shut up.
Don't say that. What the fuck?
I didn't say it. Shh.
It's just wrong.
It is. I think it was a tweet or something, but this person was like, so, like, in my mind, it is still the year 2000. So 1990 was 10 years ago. That's how it's going to be. And I'm like, I totally relate to that.
I do too.
Because the 70s was 30 years ago. Period. The 70s was 30 years ago. That's it. Period.
God, I wish that was true.
That's how it will always be.
Gosh. was sitting here thinking, I think it was just this morning, I can't believe how old I am. I can't.
Well, we're not talking about
I
that.
don't feel like I'm that old.
I know. I know. But that's great, though. Like, at least we don't feel our age.
Well, yeah.
Not for the most part. I've had back problems my whole life, so I still feel like I'm 20. My back hurts like hell.
All right. So I did... These are just scary ghost stories.
Okay.
Ever since my niece was a baby, odd and unexplained things would often happen to her. From her vivid nightmares, seeing things nobody else did, to waking up screaming in the middle of the night, she always had what I truly believe to be a special connection to the spirit world. When she was about 5 years old, our grandmother sadly passed away. We really didn't know how to break the news to her just yet, so my sister decided to wait, at least until she could be calm enough to talk about it without immediately breaking down in tears. Death is a tricky subject as it is, let alone with someone that age on top of losing someone you were so close to. We made sure to never mention it to my niece or even around her, and we were very careful. As days went by, we knew she had no idea our grandmother had passed. Then just days before the funeral, my niece woke up screaming in the middle of the night. She ran into her parents' bedroom, breathing heavy, all the color flushed from her face. My sister woke up instantly and could see the terror in my niece's eyes. "What's wrong?" she yelled. Through the shortness of her breath, in between the quick and tiny inhales and exhales, my niece answered, "Grandma was in my room, hiding behind the curtains." "Why is she in my room, Mommy? She really scared me. I don't understand." My sister hugged her and could feel her little heart pounding fast and hard. They slowly walked back into my niece's bedroom together. When they entered, no one was there, but the curtain was slowly moving back and forth. It was as if our grandma was giving one last goodbye to my niece, even though my niece had no idea she was even gone. Why is she hiding behind the curtains?
Why was she hiding behind the curtains?
That makes it creepy.
Yeah.
If she was just standing there in the room.
Like watching her peacefully?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Don't hide behind shit.
That's creepy. Damn. I know she doesn't have much experience. But,
well, yeah, that's true.
But, like, common sense, lady. I mean, come on.
My fiancé owns a barber shop, and every day he hears all kinds of stories from a vast array of people. One of his clients, who is a regular at the shop, started to tell my fiancé about the haunted happenings going on at his house one day. As months went by, the stories became more terrifying each time this client would come in. This man, his wife, and his son moved into the third floor of a 3-story home, with the 2 other floors remaining vacant. After a few weeks of settling in, it began. Their son, who was about 5 years old, began having trouble sleeping at night. He started to believe that a man in a hat would sit in the rocking chair in his bedroom in the middle of the night, scaring him to the point of being too terrified to fall back to sleep. The man kept showing up more frequently, but the parents brushed it off as bad dreams or anxiety about moving into the new place. They let this go on for weeks, but things only amplified. The son told his parent the man was now speaking to him aggressively, urging him to leave and for his family to get out of his house. Finally, the dad had had enough. He told his son he would stay awake the entire night to keep watch, making sure the scary man in the hat didn't show up and his son could get a good night's rest. He kept his word and stayed up the following night. He sat in a chair in the hallway in front of his son's bedroom. The house remained quiet and still until he saw him. At the opposite end of the hallway stood an old man in a suit and fedora hat staring back at him. And he kept on standing there, staring, until he finally disappeared. Things only progressed as days went by. More and more things began happening. Items moving on their own or falling off shelves, cabinets opening, lights flickering, seemingly little things. Until one day, with the husband at work, his wife was at home preparing a bath for their son. She turned the water on, but then heard the radio turn on in the living room. Confused, she quickly ran over and turned it off, then headed back to the bathroom. After a few minutes, she heard it turn on again. It continued to turn on a few more times, so she finally decided to simply unplug it and return to the bathroom to shut the water off. Despite being unplugged, the radio turned on again. She shut the door of the bathroom, trying not to show the fear in her eyes as her son was playing joyfully in the bathtub. She kept on, but suddenly heard noises coming from the kitchen. Listening in, she realized it sounded like cabinets and drawers opening and shutting, plates falling, crashes and bangs. Her son became frightened. She was terrified, so she called her husband and told him to come home immediately. When he arrived home, she was still hiding in the bathroom with her son, but the kitchen was in shambles. Plates and cups shattered, utensils scattered all over the floor, and cabinets and drawers wide open. It was as if they were being ransacked. They left the house immediately and stayed with family until finally moving into a new home. They learned later that years ago, a few people died in the house, including an old man who lived on the second floor of the building. This man died in his rocking chair. He was also known to be mean and angry and spent his whole life in that house. Guests were never really welcomed, and apparently they still aren't.
That's creepy.
Yeah. For years, my niece would talk about Charlie, which we all assumed was an imaginary friend. One time, I was in the car with her while my sister ran into the grocery store. We were just chatting about random things. She was about 6 years old at the time. She was saying the cutest things, so I started to take a video of her. After a few minutes of random chatter, her face suddenly changed. A seriousness fell over her. She looked up at me and said, "Charlie's in here." Goosebumps ran up my arm. I asked, "Who?" She started to get uncomfortable and squirm and just said, "Charlie is in here, with us, right now."
Oh my God.
The more I pressed for questions, the more she would no longer answer me. Now, we could just say this was her imaginary friend, except things got weird when it came to Charlie. One night, my sister was giving my niece a bath. After all this time, we assumed Charlie was a boy, but this night, my niece explained that Charlie was actually a girl, and not just any girl. It was apparently a girl who used to be friends with our grandmother. My sister wasn't really buying the story, but then my niece asked, "Did you used to have a bird named Tweety?" Now my niece would have no way of knowing this, but Tweety was one of my grandma's birds that she had when she was alive. It was my sister's favorite. But we hardly, if ever, talked about the birds my grandmother used to have. My sister, completely shocked at this question, asked, "How do you know about Tweety?" My niece responded, "Charlie told me about it." We still have no idea how she knew about Tweety.
Charlie told her.
Yeah. She told you. My friend and her husband moved into a relatively old house in New Hampshire. After a few weeks of living there, they began to notice a lot of strange things happening. First, my friend would find dimes all over the house with no explanation as to where they were coming from. Dimes just randomly appeared in different rooms around the house. On many mornings, she would wake up to find all the kitchen cabinets wide open, knowing very well that she and her husband did not leave them open the night before.
That's creepy as fuck.
I know. One night, they both awakened by the sound of a loud thump noise coming from the basement. They instantly thought someone had broken in. Her husband grabbed his gun and went downstairs to search the basement and find the intruder, but he found nothing. They never discovered where the noise came from, but it was loud enough to wake both of them up. Things seemed to be escalating. They were folding the laundry one night in their bedroom when suddenly they heard a voice talking. It sounded like it was coming from the corner of the bedroom. The rest of the house was silent. They had no TV on, no radio, nothing. They couldn't make out what exactly was being said, but they stood there listening to the whispers ramble on. The voice slowly tapered off after a while, with no explanation as to where it came from. They slept with the lights on that night. Terrified with everything that has been going on, my friend decided to schedule a professional sage cleanser for the house. A professional sage cleansing for the house. A few days before the cleansing was going to take place, my friend and her husband were preparing dinner one evening in the kitchen. Out of nowhere, their Amazon Alexa turned on with no noise in the living room to provoke it, and began repeating over and over and over, "We need to talk. We need to talk. We need to talk."
What?
It repeated on like this until she went over and disconnected it. She later called Amazon to explain what happened. Amazon records every Alexa glitch with a certain corresponding code. However, no one has ever reported an incident remotely like this one, and they had no idea how to explain it. They ditched the Alexa. Fortunately, the activity is dying down since the full sage cleansing, for now at least.
Man, if I had a poltergeist try to come in my house and do anything, it would get so pissed off and leave. Because every time I walk in the kitchen, all the cabinets are open already because of my kids. And I would just be like, what the fuck? And close them. So unless I saw something like actually happen in front of my face, that poltergeist would be like, what the fuck?
This ghost getting so frustrated, got their hands on their hips. What the hell?
And I'm just like, damn kids.
Well, a ghost wouldn't like my house, too. I don't have any cabinets.
Oh, yeah. They just start throwing
And they try
shit.
to open them drawers. Man, I can barely open them drawers, so good luck. My family and I were wandering aimlessly around Boston's North End one night when we all decided we were hungry. We picked a random restaurant, one with the shortest wait, and sat down for dinner. My niece started acting really strange at dinner, almost as if she shut down entirely. She turned away from us with her head down and didn't say more than 2 words the whole time. She sat through dinner like that, not answering when we would ask her what was wrong. We later found out that the entire time we were at dinner, she was seeing many people walking around the restaurant, dressed in old-fashioned clothing, and she couldn't understand what they were doing there. She explained they didn't look like they were from this time period, but they scared her. The restaurant wasn't very busy, and there were certainly no people walking around with that type of clothing on. When we researched the restaurant, there it was, one of the oldest restaurants in the North End with a rich history of guests. I wonder if it were those very guests that she was seeing.
That is crazy. I love that story.
Yeah.
Poor thing.
Yeah.
But, oh my gosh, could you imagine just going to a restaurant and sitting there and all of a sudden seeing a bunch of people that didn't look like they were from your time?
Yeah, that
walking
would be
around?
crazy.
That would be fucking crazy.
I don't know what I would do. I would probably, whoever I was with, I'd be like, why are they dressed
I know,
like
I'd be
that?
like,
And they'd look at me like, what are you talking about?
Like, well, let's finish and then we're going to have to stop by the hospital because I might be going crazy.
My uncle passed away when I was just a baby. I have no memories of him. Years ago, my sister and I were both asleep in our beds. In the middle of the night, our mother woke us up. "Were you just in my room?" she asked in a panicked voice. I opened my eyes to find her looking back at me. She was frantic. "What?" I asked as I was half asleep. "Were you just in my room?" she repeated. "No," I said as I rubbed my eyes, thinking she probably just had a nightmare. She went into my sister's bedroom, asking her the same question and receiving the same response. I slowly drifted back to sleep. The next morning, my mom was a mess. She was cooking us breakfast with the look on her face I'll never forget. Pale, drained, and full of fear. She asked us again, "You promised me neither of you were in my room last night, even just for a second?" "No, Mom, we were not in your room. We were both sleeping when you woke us up. Promise." She paused, took a deep breath, then looked up at us and said, "Well, someone was standing in my doorway last night, and I think it was your uncle. I think my brother came to visit me."
Yeah. Interesting. Why was she so...
I don't know. If she thought it was her brother,
Yeah.
why is she probably just couldn't fathom that it was happening.
Yeah, people just think differently than I do. I'm so quick to be like, meh, it's whatever. Yeah, you know, like I don't freak out unless I need to. That's
I
me.
usually don't either. I always say, I don't know what I would do, but I don't think I would freak out.
Unless, like, if you obviously if you did, that would be creepy because nobody else lives here. But, if you just thought it was one of your kids, or I would convince myself that it was just one of my kids, I would probably think it's weird, but.
Well, yeah. Yeah, if someone did that in my house, I don't know. I honestly don't react.
Yeah, same.
The way people normally do.
Yeah,
And
I don't either. Or at least I don't think I would.
Just like remember when I was little and, Mommy used to sleep late. So, of course, we had to fend for ourselves in the morning. And for some reason, our toaster was on the floor in the dining room.
Yeah.
And I was making toast and caught the curtain on fire. I mean, like literal fire. It wasn't just smoking. It was on fire. And I go to Mommy and I'm shaking her. Mommy. She's like, "What?" The curtain's on fire. She's like, "What?"
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can't.
The curtain's on fire. Can you go get it?
I can't see you freaking out about much anything. My daughter, it's like, "There's a spider!" It's like this teeny tiny little dead thing. I'm like, oh my God.
Now, I do freak out if, like, a bug was on me,
Yeah.
then I'm like flipping and flopping around,
Yeah.
and that's totally
That's different. Yeah, that's totally different. Okay, I did the simulation is leaking stories. That's how they put it.
Oh.
Glitch in the Matrix.
Yeah.
First one time I was standing at the top of the stairs talking to my mom down below. I dropped my phone, and as it was going down the stairs, it completely disappeared. There are no cracks or spaces it could have slipped into. There was a flush wall all the way down on both sides. My mom and I were mind blown. We couldn't find this phone anywhere. 2 days later, I was cleaning in the upstairs hall, and the phone was underneath my sister's dollhouse. There's no way it could have happened. Absolutely impossible. My mom and I both saw the phone bounce down the stairs, and poof, gone.
Wow. I love those stories.
I know.
What the hell?
And
where did it go?
It went under her freaking sister's dollhouse.
Yeah, but how did it get
I
there?
know. What the fuck? It's crazy.
Unless they just lost track of it somehow, and the girl found it and thought it was cute to hide it or something.
Okay, maybe. You're ruining it.
Sorry.
It
I have
went
to think-
into a portal.
I have to think rationally.
It went into a portal. Okay, next one. I think we saw a time traveler. So this happened about a week ago, but my memory's still pretty fresh. My boyfriend and I were in the car on the way to get dinner and chatting casually. Everything was normal. As we pulled up to a red light, somebody caught my attention. There was a guy, I'd say about 15 to 18 years old, walking on the sidewalk across the street. I noticed him because he looked like he was straight out of 2004. Baggy jeans, gray beanie, and a black t-shirt over a long-sleeve white shirt. I thought it was funny and figured he was some kind of skater and pointed it out to my boyfriend, and we made some jokes about the guy being from the early 2000s. We both agreed that he looked out of place and we started to joke that he must be a time traveler. I said something like, he's probably thinking, whoa, dude, where am I? And as soon as I said that, the guy started to look around like he was confused. We were in the car and across a busy street from him, so no way he heard us. We remarked that it was weird as we watched the guy look around confused for a few moments. Then we both looked away for no more than a half a second. I don't remember why, and when we turned back, the guy was gone. At first we laughed and thought it was funny, but the more we looked, the more we realized he had nowhere to go, and he really just completely disappeared. I can't stress this enough, we barely looked away, and he had nowhere to go, that we wouldn't be able to see him. We both freaked out and drove most of the way home silent while we thought about the time travel, but we haven't really talked about it since, but we agree that it was obviously really weird.
See, those kind of stories scare me. Because if those are true, could you imagine if it happened to you?
No.
If all of a sudden you were in some foreign
Hell no.
place where nothing looked right, and
Especially if you were just walking down the street like 2 seconds ago.
yeah, that
is scary.
Super scary.
Well, Amy Adams says that people randomly walk into portals all the time.
Ugh.
That's scary. Next one, for about a week, I would wake up, look at the clock, see it was 2 a.m., and then go back to sleep. One of these nights, I woke up as usual and then noticed a green glow next to my ear. I turned my head to see what I could only describe as a giant light bright peg plugged into my pillow. Yeah. Instead of being disturbed by it, I thought to myself, Craig, my brother, would think this is really cool, and then fell instantly back asleep. Next day, I went to my brother's apartment and remarked how tired he looked. He said, yeah, every night this week I woke up at 2 a.m., and then last night I swear I heard you calling my name. Shocked, I told him what I had experienced, and we wondered if for some reason we were having a psychic connection. He got out a pack of index cards, and we each took 10. One by one, we wrote numbers and held them up to discover 9 out of 10 matched. The last one I left blank, and he drew a 0, both indicating nothing. Then the spell was broken, and it never happened again.
That's weird.
So they both wrote nothing, but in different ways, and that broke the connection.
Huh.
Next one, I had lots of insane glitch in the Matrix moments happen when I was younger. One morning, when I was getting ready for school, I went to go downstairs to get breakfast and passed my parents' bedroom. The door was slightly ajar, and I peeked in to see my dad putting on his tie and getting ready for work. When I got downstairs to the kitchen, my dad was already in there making toast. I was so confused. Our house is small and only had one staircase, and there's no way he could have gotten to the kitchen without me seeing him. Really weird. Next one. So this happened earlier this morning, but it's still on everyone's mind here. I was doing laundry and moving clothes from the washing machine to the dryer. While I was moving things over, I picked up my Optimus Prime t-shirt and put it in the dryer. Then one of my kids needed me in the kitchen, so I walked away. When I got back to the washing machine, I picked up the next item, and it was again my Optimus Prime t-shirt. I figured I must mistook the first shirt or something and threw the shirt in there. A few items later, again, one of my kids needs something, so I walk away, and when I get back, I again pull out the same Optimus Prime shirt from the washing machine and say out loud, "What the hell, this is weird," and then throw it in the dryer. My oldest daughter walked in and asked what was going on, and I tell her, and she looks in the dryer and says that there were 3 of the shirts in there. It's impossible, as I only own one. So I go to look in the dryer, and yes, indeed, there were 3 identical shirts, all wet as well. My daughter gets excited and calls my wife to take a look and confirm we're not crazy. My wife takes a look and also sees the 3 identical shirts. She knows I only own one, as she bought it for me. My wife says we could take a picture, and she walks out of the laundry room to get her phone. While she was getting her phone, there's a loud bang coming from the laundry room, and we all quickly go back in there. Nothing seemed out of place or fallen, but when my daughter looked in the dryer, there was only one Optimus Prime shirt. We emptied the dryer, but in the end, there was only the single shirt. Still no idea what happened here, but all 3 of us saw the multiple shirts.
That is crazy.
That is what the
It's
why?
like whoever's in charge of us said, "Oh shit,"
Yeah,
and hurried up and fixed it.
and like tripped on something on their way out because of the bang.
Speaking of that, remember the tank top I asked
Oh,
you if
yeah.
I accidentally gave you?
Yeah.
I found it.
Oh,
It was in
good.
my panty drawer. Well, it was the same color as some of my panties, so I must have just,
Well, I'm glad you found it.
Yeah.
I know. Every time I was like, I hope I didn't like put it in my stuff, and I'm just
Oh, I
like,
know. I didn't honestly think that I put it in the bag that I
Yeah.
gave you, but I was telling Chris about it, and she's like, "Well, see if Brandy's got it." And I was like, "Well, all right, it can't hurt."
Yeah.
But I knew it was here somewhere.
Yeah.
I just didn't know where.
All right, next one. So one time I was sitting at a traffic light at an intersection that is perpendicular to an off-ramp to a major highway. I was a newer driver and a light watcher. So as soon as the opposing traffic light turned yellow, I would already be about to take my foot off the brake. Well, this time, when I took my foot off the brake, something pushed against my chest and kind of pinned me to the seat. But not my seatbelt, because it didn't get any tighter or stall like it does when you brake. I turned to the right and looked at the passenger in shock because I was so confused. But they yelled at me to go. When I turned my head straight to proceed, a car came literally flying like airborne across the intersection from the highway at lightning speed and crashed into an overgrown lot on the other side. I just burst into tears because what the fuck? I'm an atheist, so I don't really know what to think.
Ooh, that's crazy.
And maybe you shouldn't be an atheist because something saved your life.
Yeah.
Next one, I was about 16 at the time, and I had just gotten a new TV put in my room so I could use my Xbox on it. It came with one remote. I remember specifically because I was very spacey and tended to lose things, so I wanted a second. Well, cut to about 3 months later, I lost the remote. I sleep with it on my nightstand and don't remember moving it or dropping it or anything, but one day I went to grab it and it wasn't on my nightstand. I looked everywhere for that thing. It was driving me crazy until a few days later when I looked in between my bed and the wall. I'd already looked there, at least I thought so, and it was just there. I was absolutely elated until when I pulled the bed back to actually grab it, 2 remotes fell. Exact same brand, same wear on the input and select button, and the number 2 rubbed off on both of them, And what really blew my mind is the batteries were the same mismatch of Duracell, and whatever brand it came with turned the same amount.
That's weird.
Yeah, it cloned itself.
Dang, I wish more stuff would do that.
I know, like money.
Yeah. That would be awesome.
Hell yeah. Next one, mine happened quite recently, actually. I had just clocked out and gotten off of work and had planned that day that my mom and I would hang out. I climbed into her car and everything was chill as usual when I began to hear a loud crashing noise like a car just got hit by another car, along with scraping, honking, doors being slammed. Of course, I say nothing because I didn't want to speak bad energy like that out there, so I kept it. Of course, what happens 30 minutes later? We have a hit and run happen, and all the same noises I hear prior to happening end up also happening. Needless to say, I was definitely confused. Sometimes I think about it and feel like just because it even popped into my mind that I had already put the energy out into the universe, so it wouldn't have mattered if I spoke it or not. I suppose I could have mentioned to stay vigilant or something, but I've never had this happen and didn't really know how to approach it. Well, just because something comes into your mind doesn't, I mean, stuff like that happens all the time and it never happens.
Yeah.
Next one, I remember I was jumping on my bed as a toddler, like maybe 5 years old at the most. I did this crazy flip and was heading upside down head first into the corner of my dresser next to my bed. Next thing I know, I'm sitting on the floor, not hurt, and don't remember landing at all. Apparently, I told my mom someone caught me, so I can't tell if it was a ghost, guardian angel, or a blip in the universe, but I'm always confused on how it happened.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Next, when I was at work when my dad called my phone, he was worried that something was wrong because a few minutes earlier I had called him and he couldn't make out what I was saying, but he knew it was my voice and I sounded agitated. All he could make out were a couple of times where I used the same nonsense nicknames I used for my parents' pet, so he thought something happened to the dogs. I told him I hadn't called him, but he didn't believe me and thought I was pulling a prank. Later on, when I saw him in person, I showed him the last outgoing call I had made to him that had been about 5 days before. But he had definitely had a call on his phone earlier from my phone because his phone showed the incoming call from my number, and the call had gone on for about 3 minutes before it cut off. That's weird.
That is weird, especially, like, I could maybe see if a phone called, somebody, but you wouldn't hear anything.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, if he heard her voice, it had to have been from another dimension that something happened to the dogs, right?
Well, I guess.
Next one, I've been walking the same path in the wooded area for 7 years, and my cousins and their friends wanted to check the woods out at night. I was like, sure, whatever, I'll take them. So a group of 6 of us went to check it out. Everything was going fine up until a new path came into view. This wooded area isn't that big, and I've never seen this path before, so I decided, fuck it, we're out here to explore, so let's explore. As we explored, we noticed that there was a pretty good-sized body of muddy water. It hadn't rained in a few months at this point, and it looked like it was a pond. We turned back and headed to the connection point. We decided we were done and headed back the exact route we came, which I kept note of. The problem is, it was longer, like the woods were extending the paths intentionally. I went back the next day, and the path was gone, and it never extended that hour it took us to get back. Weird. Next one, years after my brother passed away, my husband, who was also my brother's best friend, got a text message from his phone number. The text read, "Hey fam," and nothing else. We know that phone numbers get recycled, but the thing is, my husband did not have this cell phone number when my brother was alive. When I told my family, my sister, who has a problem with boundaries, decided to call the number and talk to the sender. He told her that he did get a new number and sent out a text to his family with his new number, but the only text that went through to my husband was the "Hey fam" part and not the rest of the message. The sender also did not have anything to show that he sent a message to my husband's cell phone. He did not have my husband's new number. The whole thing is bizarre, and before people want to tell me theories about what it might be, I'm choosing to believe that my brother, the prankster, decided to blip the timeline and say hello. And this is my last one, and it is fucking weird. I have an identical twin sister, and we are very close. Most people can't tell us apart. We've always done everything together. We both get sick at the same time. We both had our gallbladders removed, and then both had some sort of surgery I don't know how to pronounce. Later, we got diagnosed with MS. One particular trip heading home to Florida to visit our parents, we stopped at a rest stop. There were several sections of bathrooms, so my sister and I split up and went into opposite directions. When we got into the restroom, I had an immediate case of deja vu. I quickly finished and left the bathroom, spotted my husband, and beelined straight for him. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw my sister heading there too. We both got to him at the same time and said in unison, "I had a dream about this bathroom." Needless to say, my husband was freaked out. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That is like, they've got to be the same person, right? Right?
That is so weird. All right, it's time for the witty wrap-up.
Yay, witty wrap-up!
So this week these are the best naive beliefs that people had in their childhood.
Oh no. These are always fun.
What's something extremely bizarre you believed as a very young child? I definitely thought that any cheese that had holes in it was caused by mice who lived inside it.
Of course. That's right?
Yeah, it is. I thought my parents got a divorce because my mom was bad at sex. And I came to that conclusion because on my mom's driver's license it said sex F.
Oh my God. She got a bad grade.
My mother used to tell me that the sound of thunder was just elves bowling, so I wouldn't be scared. To this day, when there is an extremely loud clap, I automatically think that's a strike.
That's great.
I thought singers came to the radio stations to sing their songs a bunch of times a day.
Oh my gosh. That's hilarious.
In kindergarten, I pulled the fire alarm because I thought the room would fill up with water and consequently fish. Turns out they just send a bunch of fire trucks and evacuate the entire school.
I just wanted a fish. What's wrong?
I'm going to go swimming. I believe that kissing scenes in movies were filmed with a thin pane of glass between actors because obviously you wouldn't kiss someone you're not married to. Apparently, that's now been floated as a COVID-friendly way to film, so I'm feeling pretty vindicated. I thought that switching lanes on the highway was illegal. We only drove when we rented cars on vacation. My mom was never a very confident driver, and whenever she switched lanes, she'd keep looking back so many times, I just assumed she was doing something illegal. I thought the purpose of menstrual pads was so important businesswomen could pee their pants during meetings because they were too busy and important to take a bathroom break.
Holy shit.
No, those are called adult diapers.
Exactly.
There's a difference. I thought divorce was when you put on your wedding outfits and walked backwards down the aisle.
You gotta undo it, right?
Rewind that shit. Let's not do that again. I thought that the world used to be in duller color based on the fact that photographs were not as colorful back then. I thought that to get pregnant, you just had to sit down and fill out some paperwork, and then it just happened. Well, sometimes.
God, if only things worked like that.
I thought mirrors were showing a parallel universe. They are. Perfectly similar, except that left was right, and the reason why I couldn't trick my reflection by moving fast enough was because we shared our minds with our doubles, so she was trying to trick me at the exact same time. I need my glass. I thought getting fired meant they literally took you outside and lit you on fire because you did a bad job.
Holy shit.
I was horrified when my parents said my uncle got fired from his job at the grocery store.
Oh my God, it's like the Salem witch trials. Don't get fucking fired, man. I wonder why they do call it that.
I don't know.
That's interesting. Why would
Yeah,
you get fired?
I don't know. I never thought about that before.
Yeah, me neither. I wonder where that came from. Maybe at one point they did go out and set you on fire if you didn't do a good job.
I used to watch Addams Family and Home Alone so many times a day that my dad made up reasons why I couldn't, like it's Kevin's bedtime or thing is too tired and covered in bruises to do it again.
That's cute.
Oh, that people were regularly pulled under escalators and never seen again because my parents were so adamant that you watch your feet at the last step. In kindergarten, I was shocked to learn that actual people wrote books, that books didn't just magically appear from the ether.
Oh my
I
God.
imagined writers wearing wizard capes looking like Gandalf and catching stories.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful.
Only deaf people celebrated Christmas.
What?
Linda on Sesame Street was deaf and celebrated Christmas. I could hear and did not. I told my parents this theory.
That's funny.
Cats are girls, dogs are boys. Don't swallow watermelon seeds or watermelons will grow in your stomach.
Why are cats girls and dogs boys?
I don't know. I thought my mom was on the radio because she sang along in the car. I legit believed she was a member of Supertramp. I thought that the capital E should have as many horizontal lines as it could, as on it as you could fit, and adults were just being lazy with only 3 lines. My teacher told me it's supposed to have fewer lines, so I wrote it with 5 horizontal lines for many months after that. When I went to Bible school and they asked me to accept the Lord Jesus Christ into my heart as my personal Savior, I was pretty sure that a tiny Jesus took up residence inside my actual heart. I also thought I had to toss my prayers up toward heaven or they wouldn't make it.
That's cute.
I thought that we kept losing teeth and growing new ones for our entire lives and was pretty upset when I found out it was a one-time deal. I still am, honestly.
I agree.
Yeah.
That'd be nice to get some new teeth every few years.
And get money for the ones you lose.
Hell yeah.
Though I can't pay for that right now. Hold on. I gotta lose my tooth first. And then I can pay you. I thought the speed limit was a speed lemon, which I interpreted as a lemon that floated under your car and kept track of how fast you were going.
What? That's weird.
My dad told me old photos were black and white because color hadn't been invented. Later, I came back with a list of questions starting with, but how did someone paint all the grass?
It took a very long time.
Wasn't me, but my brother thought there was a religion called public because he was Catholic and went to Catholic school.
Oh.
One day he confronted my mom and said, "Why can't the publics go to their own church? What a separatist. He's becoming a priest." Embarrassing admission. When I was a teenager, a friend with a garage band drove me to school before I got my license. One day he put a tape in and I thought, hot damn, his garage band is really good. And that's the first time I ever heard the Smashing Pumpkins.
Oh, that's funny.
I thought that a snake lived in the toilet and that it would bite me on the butt. The moral here is that adults are big liars.
Why would they say that? Maybe it's taking too long in the bathroom or something.
I thought sex, specifically to make a baby, took all night, like 10 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Oh, that would be awful.
Yeah, it would. I thought the do not pass road signs meant you weren't supposed to drive past the sign, but that everyone just ignored them.
Oh, fuck that sign.
I need to get over here, damn it.
That's funny.
I thought animals featured in cartoons weren't real. That roadrunners, reindeer, and skunks are real honestly blows my mind.
Oh my. Get outside more.
Grapes were painkillers. To be fair, my parents convinced me of this to get me to stop crying over small woes.
Okay. That's not a bad little lie.
Yeah. The tiny coffee creamers were bear milk, but that is due to my parents being liars.
Bear milk. That's so a dad thing.
Yeah. I thought that all newlyweds permanently moved to the honeymoon in outer space.
That's really cute.
Yeah, it is. I thought that miners were banned from using cigarette machines because there wasn't a lot of air down in the mines, so miners weren't allowed to smoke. I don't understand.
I don't get that either.
I thought that miners were banned from... I don't understand. That one was stupid. I found out Santa wasn't real when I was 6, but still believed in the plausibility of the Easter Bunny till I was 10.
What the fuck?
I confused philanderer with philanthropic. I can't say that word.
Philanthropy?
Yeah, philanthropist. There
Okay.
we go. For the longest time, I couldn't figure out why so many people were being celebrated for cheating on their partners.
That would be some shit, wouldn't it?
In catechism, we were told Jesus never made a fist, which I thought meant that his hands were always open, like he couldn't grip things.
Two hands are everything.
And my last one, humans have 3 noses, a main nose and 2 little internal noses. Those are called nostrils. Then why do you say picking your nose instead of picking your nostril?
Okay. That is English language is so messed up and weird.
I know.
So, yeah, nothing makes sense. All right, well, thank you so much for listening. Send in your stories or suggestions, schoolsnightoutpodcast@gmail.com. You can rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen, and we will... Oh, we have an announcement that I almost forgot again. So next week I will be doing our happy hour for the month, and then we are taking a month off. So we are going to release our next episode after the episode next time on July 4th. So we'll be taking a little time, and we'll talk to you next week.
Later.
Bye.